Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the weekly career talk show with Corgi Lumpur. Just kidding, there's no actual talk show, but what I'm here to do is actually give you some good career advice. So the other day, someone that I used to work with reached out to me. She is facing some sort of burnout at her job, which she's been at for I think 3 or 4 years now at a big tech company, and she's wanting to quit. And I gave her some advice and realized by the end of the conversation that I really should make a video on this because I have been giving a lot of friends and ex-coworkers pretty much the same advice every single time they ask me variations of pretty much the same question that it really makes sense for me to scale out that advice onto this channel in hopes that someone watching this will somehow benefit and be able to make good decisions that result in positive outcomes for their life. So before we go on, what are my credentials, you might ask? I'm the guy who's been laid off 5 different times in my life so far, and I ain't all that old, hopefully you can tell. Out of those 5 times, I've sued 2 of those companies for unlawful dismissal, won both times, one of which we actually went through the entire court process in Germany, and from start to finish, and I won. The second time we settled out of court thanks to my really good lawyer. There was basically a win in my book because they managed to pay out a lot more magically compared to the initial offer that they had when they were inviting me to leave the company. So there was a third opportunity that was kind of missed out to sue for unlawful dismissal because that dismissal happened in Singapore where they have employee protection laws that really are toothless as fuck. So in another country, I would definitely have started an unlawful dismissal case and probably, I would say with 95% confidence, have won in that case, but sadly I couldn't do shit in Singapore. My advice for anyone who's facing any form of burnout and you're thinking about leaving your job is that you got to think about sick leave. How much sick leave do you have? Because it's not ethical, but it's the way that business works, especially in the white collar world, especially if you're an employee, because in most countries, employees have less power than companies. So you got to use whatever tools that you have at your disposal. And one of them is through getting a few sick days off. And what's the point of this, you may ask? Why don't I just quit? Then I won't have to return to work again. Well, first of all, you got to understand that we are living in some of the toughest times ever. A lot of companies have done a ton of layoffs in the last couple of years, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. At the rate things are going, they're going to cite AI as the next reason that they need to cut their headcount because they don't need all these different employees anymore because all their jobs can be done by AI. So that's coming in the future. That's what I predict. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other reasons as well, like the whole Jerome Powell versus Donald Trump and the Fed, if you've been following that. I'm pretty sure at some point when the Fed adjusts their rates, and so do a bunch of other countries as kind of like a domino effect, companies will be using that as their next latest excuse to perform a bunch of layoffs. So you want to take those sick days off because you don't want to make any rash decisions. You don't want to make any emotional decisions. You might just be burnt out from not having a vacation for too damn long, and you might benefit from that 1 week off by going to the doctors and just calling in sick. There's a lot of different ways. One of the ways in Europe, for example, was this burnout leave. You could actually go to a doctor in Europe and tell them that you're burnt out, and most of the time they'll just give you like a few weeks off. That was what I was told. That was what I've seen, but I've never actually done it myself. The other way is probably to get that long overdue wisdom tooth that you've had extracted, because you don't want to be like me where you get that wisdom tooth kind of shoving forward to the point where it knocks out your molars from behind. So that could be a nice way to get like at least a week off. And during that week off, you want to think about if you're actually making the right decisions. And if you truly believe that you should leave your job, what's your plan? Because a lot of these people whom have approached me for advice in the past, they've all told me pretty much the same thing. They're burnt out, they hate their job, they don't like their salary, they feel that something's better out there. They don't have an existing offer, but they want to leave their company. And I'm like, why, dude? Why? Can't you just tough it out for a few more months, or at least until you secure some interviews and maybe secure some offers at least before you do that? Because you don't want to pull any rash decisions with stop cutting off the paycheck deliberately that's paying your rent, your car, your kids, your food, everything. If you really, really, really have made up your mind, even after that, those few sick days off, to think about it, that you want to leave your job, what's your plan? If you don't have an existing job lineup, if you don't have interviews that you're going for right now, if you don't have any freaking offers even, what's your plan? I know a lot of people will say, like, I don't want to work a job instantly right after I quit. I want to have some time to relax. But what happens after that? Have you ever thought about that? Because I have so many times in my life. Some of those times I just had to think up on the spot to do something after I got laid off, and I was talking with the lawyers and all of that stuff. I didn't have to go to work anymore. But hey, I have to do something. And that out of one of those times, that's how this whole crypto mining project that I did came up. I managed to set up a full, what some would call the industrial scale crypto mining operation. And I ran that for the next 3 months of my life till I found another job. I actually got the offer a month after I got randomly selected to get laid off by the previous company. But during that time, I told them, hey, I have a 3-month notice period. I can start in 3 months. And so I had that 3 months to do my own thing. And that's, the whole crypto mining thing was what I chose to get into. What's your plan over there? Especially if you don't have a job lined up. You gotta think long term. You gotta make sure that you have a plan. And you gotta make sure that you are not just sitting around, like just looking at your fucking phone all day for the next, whatever months till you find a new job. That's not the way it works. That's not how you should go about doing it. And that's why you gotta think. That's why I make all these fucking videos on this channel all the fucking time, telling people that you gotta think and not waste your fucking brain cells and time doom scrolling brain rot on social media. And after that, after you've decided what you want to do, let's say your plan is to take some time off to relax, go for a vacation, maybe start some kind of side hustle and stuff like that. Great, you have a fucking plan. What happens if that plan fails? What happens if that plan is over? What happens if you don't manage to secure a job after the next 2, 3, 4 months? Because a lot of people say, like, I have a plan. I want to take some time off. I want to have this 1 month break, and then I'm going to start applying for jobs, and then I'll be settled right into a new job after that. What if the next 3 months after that first month of rest goes by without a single offer? You may laugh, you might think I'm joking, but this is coming from experience, personal experience, and also hearing a ton of other people's anecdotes and stories, people that I actually know, and also a lot of things that I've read on the internet. So it's a combination of all three things that makes me extremely worried when they tell me, hey, I want to quit my job, I have nothing lined up, I want to take a month off, and then I should be able to get another job. I should be able to apply for new jobs. I should be able to get interviews. There's nothing more dangerous than that kind of mindset. Telling other people that you have this entire plan and this is how it's going to play out. If it doesn't play out, you're cooked, man. So pretty much that's my advice. Take some time off. If you really feel like you want to quit your damn job right here, right now, just as a cool off to think things through. And after that, come up with a plan. And once you've confirmed that you have a plan, then maybe just still try to hold out as you interview and stuff like that for your next job, if your plan is to get another job, because it's going to be pretty tough to be unemployed, and you run into all sorts of stupidity everywhere from like just not being able to get like the interviews or offers that you expected, to companies trying to abuse their position of power. The fact that you're unemployed means that they're going to give you a shittier offer in hopes that you'll take it out of desperation, all sorts of shit. Something to think about. Let me know what you think. That's it for today, and I hope you learned something. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.